You were born with something extraordinary, a unique genius. It's that unmistakable place where your strengths and your passion collide, where impact meets fulfillment. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement for entrepreneurs who refuse to settle, who believe life is meant to be rich in purpose, alive with meaning, and overflowing with possibility. Here, we pull back the curtain on bold journeys, stories of courage, clarity, unapologetic authenticity. These are the visionaries who are building wealth, creating freedom, and changing the world by fully owning the gifts they were born to share. Because the meaning of life is to find your gifts and the purpose to use them fully. Welcome to the Unique Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Chanowsky. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Unique Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Chanowsky, and I'm so excited to have with me Matt Fleming today. Matt, thanks for being our guest.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're going to dive into some fun. We were just talking before this episode. JC and I just got to come out to Santa Barbara and meet you and be with you in person. So I know we'll dive into that. But before we dive into lessons and stories, why don't you share with the audience just a little bit about Matt?
Okay. My name is Matt Fleming. I live in Santa Barbara, California. I grew up a little bit like 90 miles north of here in Arroyo Grande, California. Lived in California my whole life. Entrepreneur, speaker, coach, and soon to be author. I'm actually writing my first book. So I'm in the works of that right now. And that's been really exciting. So that's a little bit about me. I guess I love the gym life. I'm really into fitness. That's my passion. And I just like giving back and helping people.
Oh, yeah. So let's talk about the gym life first, and then we'll dive into stories. And we definitely have to make it to the book because that's a passion of mine for the book. But that's how we know you. Been JC's coach for a while in Unstoppable, and he is obsessed. Like he is always like, that's such a great coach. So awesome. We absolutely love the Unstoppable program. And so that's why we decided. JC was like, said like a kid in a candy store. He couldn't wait to come work out with his trainer in person. And it was incredible to get to work out with you guys in person. But tell me a little bit about how you got into that, into the fitness being your passion, into coaching, and what you love about it.
Yeah, I guess I'll back it up a little bit. I wasn't always the person you see here on this camera, right? I found myself getting into a lot of trouble at a young age, which went hand in hand with, drugs, alcohol, and just the county jail became a revolving door. And I can honestly say, I think my love for fitness started in the jail, right? It's funny as that might sound. I would go in there and I would just work out to kill the time. It's mandatory to work out in there. And that's where I found myself doing. I'd always go in, get in really good shape, but I would come out and like I said, I struggled with addiction, and it was just a vicious cycle that I couldn't seem to break from. In my mid 20s, I got really into it when I checked myself into a rehab facility to get sober, and went all in with the whole fitness thing. Got really into strength training, started studying, getting certified as a personal trainer, started teaching group fitness classes, doing one-on-one coaching, and I just loved everything about fitness. I found it um, the best way to get through some of my hardest moments of life. And it's just evolved from there, working in gyms. And now, like, I get to work with you guys in Unstoppable 365, which has just taken things to that next level. So, I love everything about it, man. Fitness is a lifesaver. It's been my experience for sure.
It definitely can be. It's something that you can pour yourself into. I find that when I have something challenging going on in my life or something that I need to push through, maybe push through something mentally or push through something in business, the best way to do it is physically challenge myself to, push myself to the next level physically. And then like knowing that when you feel stronger physically, you just have this confidence that you can push past the next
Yeah.
challenge.
Absolutely. Mind, body, spirit, it's all connected, right? Like even before this podcast, like I always get a little nervous when know I'm going to go on cameras. I was like, all right, I'm going to time my workout right around this podcast. And I did it perfectly. I went and I lifted weights for an hour. I did 30 minutes on the stair climber. I got in the sauna, got in the ice bath, showered, jammed home, and jumped on my computer and here. And that's why I have this smile. Not that I don't
What?
always try to smile, but like, it just puts you in a better mood. When you do things that are challenging, when you think that you can't, you push past those limiting beliefs physically, and
Mhm.
that transfers over into all aspects of life. It's like, what else can I do today that is difficult? I already did that. That's why I'm a big fan of morning exercise. I like getting it done first thing in the morning for that reason. Anytime's good, but for myself personally, when I start the day with a win like that, I just get to carry that momentum with me through the rest of my day. And it's just, how many wins can I stack today? That's the goal of each day. And when you do that every single day, days turn into weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. And you get to look back one day and you're just super proud of everything you've built.
Absolutely. We're big fans of morning workout too. So we are glad we were, and we can work out at 5 a.m. Because of that, like you said, it sets the tone for the whole day. If you get up
Yeah.
and can stack those wins, get the blood flowing, feel good about yourself, get to pour into yourself and set your energy right, then that sets the tone for the day. Instead of waking up, I just can't imagine how people live life and like get up and just like let life happen to them. Open their email, let the life happen without setting your body and your energy right, putting yourself first.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I did it for a long time, so I get it, but it's like most people, when they get out of bed, before their feet even hit the floor, they're touching their phone, they're checking what's going on with the world. They're letting the world happen to them before they even get a chance to get their mind right? So for me, even before the workout, I have a very strict morning routine that I found a process that works for me. I'm not saying it's the only way, but I suggest that everyone find some sort of process. And for me, it's like tapping into gratitude before my feet even hit the floor. Like I'll turn my alarm off. I have my alarm on my phone, but other than that, I don't touch it. And then you make your bed. And for me, I hit my knees every morning and pray right after I make my bed, and I'll go out to my living room. I read my devotional, I journal. There's power in reading and writing first thing in the morning. I'm like working my mind, tapping into my spiritual side of things. And then I'll jump in the shower and go to the gym. I shower before the gym, wakes me up a little bit. But that's like my routine. That's my process that I do every single day. And it's works for me. And I love it. And I love the way I feel. And I just can't imagine life any other way.
Yeah, I am huge on morning. I used to call it my morning routine. I now call it
Mhm.
morning rituals. I feel like it
Yeah.
sounds like, I don't know, more spiritual, and that
Yeah.
it's like designed instead of a routine that I have to do. But mine's similar. I do workout first to wake myself up. We do workouts on
Okay.
a cold plunge. I do meditation while I'm in the sauna. But reading and writing so important. I listen to a book and then journal through morning pages, and gratitudes are part of that. People sometimes think it's insanity because I could add more and more. Like I love doing outside miles. I love when I have a chance to do long grounding. A 4-hour morning ritual would be perfect for me. And someday my life design I'll get to do each of those components even more. But I believe it creates the superpower in us. When you get to do all of that, it sets your energy right in so many ways. And every single thing you do throughout the day and life that you encounter, you're so much more impactful.
Yeah, no, 100%. I love that. I mean, yeah, morning routine, whatever you want to call it, ritual. I actually like that. I might have to steal that one, but it's just like it's the process, right? It's the process that gets me going in the morning. It's the process that makes me the best version of me so I can go give that to the rest of the world. Because I'm not always in the best mood when I wake up, right? We're human beings. We're not supposed to, we don't always wake up and just all joyful and chipper and whatever, but you can make yourself that way, right? Like you get a process down. And I'm a big fan of meditation. I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and it's just such a huge part of my life. And that being said, there are those days too, like where we're not perfect, right? We sleep through the alarm, or we miss something. It's like it's important to be able to function without it. I can't rely on that routine. In a perfect world, this is how every day would start, but not every day starts like that. I just do my best. And I agree with you. The 4-hour morning ritual is sounds pretty sweet to me too. The more time I have in the morning, the better. I
Yeah,
don't like starting my day off in a rush at all.
absolutely. Life goals of the life that we want to design.
Life
Well, you
goals for
talked
sure.
about you have come, you have a story that has led you up to this point, things that you've overcome. And that is such a powerful story of like, it wasn't all easy, it wasn't all handed to you. This wasn't where you started, but you used fitness as a great, powerful tool to change your life. And now you're helping people wherever they're at. They don't have to come from that place to change their life, but to use this powerful tool. And I think it's your unique genius, right? You found this tool that within you that allowed you to transform your life. And now you really have a gift for working with people, and coaching in the program and one-on-one of getting the best set of people and using fitness to transform their lives as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all struggle in life, whether, mine was addiction, drugs, alcohol, the way I felt growing up. I always had a lot of insecurities. But look, whatever your struggle is, it can all be broken through with just getting past those limiting beliefs and becoming a better version of yourself. So I think it's relatable no matter what you're struggling with. I see a lot of people addicted to food. You know what I mean? That's a big one. Or other vices in their life that are just taking hold of them that they can't seem to break through. And if nothing else, I just want to be an example for people that what's possible whenever you really start to go all in on life and just become the best version of you, like what can really happen. Because, I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life. Like I said, I really found fitness in my mid 20s, but it didn't go smoothly just from there. Like I was sober and clean sober for like a year and a half. And looking back, I made a few mistakes. First off, my relationship with God wasn't first and foremost, which has been my number one this time around. I put fitness in front of certain things that shouldn't have been put first. And I also felt like I had a problem with drugs. I wasn't a big alcoholic. I can drink. I deserve to drink like normal people because I missed out on that in my early 20s. And I quickly found out that I'm addicted to whatever it is. So you give me a couple of drinks and I get a case of what's called the fuckets, and I quickly don't care about anything. And I went back to my drugs of choice. And, I had built up a little bit of momentum in that year and a half after getting through a rehab facility, getting off probation, going through all these challenges. And in a very short amount of time, I was homeless again, living in my car and with even worse consequences. This time, I caught some serious charges that I had to fight through. Luckily, God was looking out for me, and I ended up getting off of those. I can go into more details on that later or whatever. But one of the worst things that happened was I ended up in the hospital, and I had some very serious life threatening things happen to me. First off, I remember waking up in the middle of the night. The best way to describe it was my head felt like it was being squeezed in vice grips. It was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. And like I said, I was homeless at the time, but I was able to, there'd be these periods where my mom and my stepdad would let me stay in their guest bedroom. I'd con my way over there, say I'm doing all right, whatever it was. And this was one of those times. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I remember the fan was on, and it was on oscillation mode, it spins back and forth. And so when I woke up in these cold sweats, I was dripped in sweat. My head was being pounded in vice grips. I remember that fan, when it would come across, it felt like pins and needles, but I was in so much pain. I couldn't get out of bed from under the blankets. I was just stuck there, paralyzed. And finally worked up enough strength to go unplug the fan. I jumped back into bed. Morning rolls around, a few hours go by like this. And I'm like, okay, something's seriously wrong with me. And so I went and drove myself to a hospital, and they did my blood cultures, but they just basically sent me home and said, there's nothing wrong with you, whatever it is. Well, I go back to the house, I fall asleep, the pain kind of subsides a little bit. I'm thinking I'm okay. And I wake up to, I don't know how many missed calls and voicemails I had from this hospital. The doctor was like, you need to get back here right now. So in my mind, I could tell by the voicemail there was something wrong. That a smart person would have drove straight to the hospital, but in my eyes, this was during COVID. This was when COVID first started too, so it was like the height of COVID, where they were really everyone's on lockdown and everything. And I think I might be staying at the hospital for a little bit, so I need to go get enough drugs to make sure I last while I'm in there. So I remember driving to a McDonald's and sitting in there for like an hour in the parking lot, waiting for someone to bring me some of my drugs so I could take them with me to the hospital, because I didn't know if I was going to be there for 2 or 3 days. And the pain's kicking back in now. And so whatever, time goes by, he brings me my stuff. I drive to the hospital. They take me through this big intake process because, like I said, it's COVID. I remember the lady came in the room with like a hazmat suit on with like an oxygen tank, because they were just over the top back then. Stuffs the giant Q-tip up my nose and just starts gushing blood, do my COVID test, whatever. Long story short, come to find out, my blood went septic. So I had sepsis, which is a very serious, I mean, it can kill you. If you don't get it taken care of right away, it's almost always fatal. If you get checked into the hospital, and when it becomes fatal, it could be like 1 day, it could be 3 days, it could be a couple days. But I just wonder how much time I was really playing with my life when I sat in that parking lot, and from the
Yeah.
time it kicked in, all these little things. So I have sepsis. They put me in the pediatric overflow tank area of the hospital on the fourth floor because, like I said, it's COVID. The hospitals were full and whatnot. I'll never forget the time the nurse comes in and they start doing these scans, and she has me hooked up to this little machine, and she scans over my heart. And I remember her face went like ghost, like just kind of her whole demeanor changed. And she turned around and walked right out of the room without saying anything. And my heart kind of sank. I'm like, oh shit, okay, what's going on now? And they come back in and they tell me, no, I have endocarditis on top of the sepsis in my blood, which endocarditis, I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but it's basically an infection in the pulmonary valve inside of the heart and all kinds of messed up things. And if they don't catch it early enough, you could basically die a slow, painful death. So I have two very serious things going on inside of my body. I look like death. I literally look like death. I have pictures of these times. My eyes were like sunken in. I was pale. I was just looked like not good. So they admit me to the hospital. The first 2 weeks I spent inside of the pediatric unit, and I had all these drugs with me, and I'm detoxing now because meth and heroin withdrawals are not fun. But I remember I was in so much pain I couldn't work up the strength to go get high. So I'm detoxing. I'm hooked up, and they had me on some like morphine drips and Dilaudid and other painkillers and whatnot. And I remember after about a week, maybe a week and a half, I snuck into the bathroom in my room, and I went to, you know, get a little graphic. I cooked up my shot with my needle and I stuck it in my arm. And because I was an IV drug user, I'm not, I'll share my past, and just instant bones chilling, aching. Like my blood was septic, which is, your body's poison at that point. And I was shoving more poison into my body. I remember I just instantly regretted that move, went and jumped back in my bed and just kept kind of slept it off. And I ended up spending like 72 days in there. And then actually one more thing happened. On the second, a couple more weeks went by, and I was complaining about this pain that had developed in my back. And the best way to describe it was like, I felt like someone had like maybe like a little blade and was just poking me right in my lower back, just enough to like give me, it hurt bad. And they basically told me that I was a drug addict looking for more painkillers because I had already been weaned off the morphine and Dilaudid and all that stuff at this point. And I was like, no, there's something wrong. They did an MRI and didn't find anything, and then basically just kept telling me the same thing. Well, again, COVID, not allowed to have any visitors, but my mom was a nurse and she worked for a different hospital. And so she would come and sneak into the hospital, I guess, whenever I was in there with her scrubs on after work. And she'd walk in, she looked like a nurse, and no one really said anything. And on multiple occasions, she came in when I was asleep, and she's like, he's in pain. He's making faces in his sleep. He's like he's fidgeting. There's something wrong with him. So they did a second MRI, this time with contrast, which is where they put a special dye inside your blood. It just shows a little bit more on the MRI. And they found a tiny little abscess right next to my spinal cord. And it kept growing, it was going to hit the spinal cord, it paralyzes you. That's what ultimately happened. So they did emergency surgery the next morning. They wheeled me to my little area, cut my back open. Like, I don't know what was going on, but it sounded like they maybe pressure washed it out. Basically, they cleaned me out. They cleaned the abscess out of my spine, which was like this little ball of pus that was growing in there. I remember waking up and I was like sore from the surgery, but they stuck a tube down my throat. So I woke up with a sore throat and a sore back, but I could finally, like, the pain was gone. It felt so good. It was a big, big sign of relief. And they kept me in that hospital for 72 days, dripping antibiotics into me every 4 hours around the clock to cure all the infections. But I'm blessed to be alive, man. I'm really blessed to be here. So
Wow. What experience, and like one thing after another that all could have killed you or
yeah.
paralyzed you, been life things. So God was definitely looking out for you in that situation. Was that then a turning point? Like what happened in the hospital after 72 days that you walked out, and was that another turning point of my life's going to be different?
So you would think that something like that would make most people want to change, which it really did. Like I said, I brought a bunch of drugs in there with me. I was getting high and being sneaky. Of course, they caught on. I'm hooked up to monitor 24/7. I was on a snitch machine. I like to think they could see my vitals. So when I'm using drugs, everything's all out of whack. And they're like, basically like, we know you have drugs. Security came in. They're all, we'll give you one chance to give them up, or we're calling the cops. So I gave them everything I had bought, which was a decent amount. And I was like, all right, I'm going all in. I'm getting sober. You know what I mean? So once I had the surgery and I started being healthy again, I started ordering healthier food off the menu. I'm like, because I knew diet and exercise. I had had moments in my life, like I said, when I was training and I was really into fitness and health, and so I knew what it took. I knew how to do that. So I stopped ordering the cheeseburgers, started ordering healthy food. I literally turned my single person hospital room into a gym. Like I found a walker in the hallway and I started doing dips on it. I had a TRX brought. I had all my stuff brought from home. I had like a whole little circuit training setup. I started doing pull-ups on the shower curtain rod, and I broke one of them. I went for a goal of 1,000 pull-ups in a day, but I actually got it on the second time around. But the first time I broke two shower curtain rods, and then the doctor brought me a pull-up bar from home. It was super cool, and like I got to know everyone in there, and like totally turned my everything around. Just became a good, started having a good attitude. Unlike when I first showed up there, I was cussing everybody out, just being a horrible person. 72 days in, I think I was supposed to be there 76 or whatever. It was like 6 more days I had left of antibiotics. And I went a little stir crazy, and I hit up a friend and I'm like, I'm just going to sneak out. We're going to go hang out at your house. And again, not because looking back, I wasn't really focusing on my relationship with God. I was just trying to work out and trying to white knuckle through all of this. And I called up a friend and she came and picked me up. And I was like, we're just going to sneak out for a few hours and hang out at your house or whatever. I knew I was going to get caught. I was doing antibiotics every 4 hours, but I told her that, it would be fine. And we go back to her house and we drink and we're hanging out. And it wasn't too long after I was there that the hospital called me, told me to come back. I come back and I'm hammered, try to fight the security guards, pack up all my shit. I took my PICC line out of my arm and I went and got my car. My car was in the parking lot. I drove myself to the hospital. So I'd been sitting there for like, whatever, over 2 months now. And I'm really, really drunk. And I instantly start searching the car for drugs. And that's exactly what I found. I started getting high right there in the hospital parking lot one more time. And then I drove off and I realized I had a flat tire because my car had been parked there for so long. And this is like 3 a.m. now. So I'm leaving the hospital, after doing all this time in there of getting healthy again. And I just tossed it all out the window because I wanted to get drunk. And that's what happened. And it went on for another year after this, a year of just complete insanity, living in my car, and till I had that moment of clarity when I overdosed on fentanyl, and I woke up, like I said, I was living in my car, and there had been so many other things that had happened in this point. Like I was so far gone up here. Like I was hearing voices in my head. I was hearing constant chatter. Like I was this close to being one of those schizophrenic people that you see walking around the street talking to themselves. And I got a pill from somebody that I thought was like an Oxycontin type pill, and it was laced with fentanyl. And
Mm.
I cooked it up and I shot it up, and I woke up with a needle on my arm in my car in the dollar store parking lot in Santa Maria, California, not knowing how many hours or whatever went by. And I remember waking up feeling so disgusted. Just, this is what I looked around like. There's some homeless people across the street at the 7-Eleven. The parking lot's black. It's empty. I'm parked in a very dark corner of the parking lot anyway because I didn't want to be seen. And I just felt so disgusted, but so grateful to be alive at the same time. And like all this time before that, I really felt like I wanted to die, but I was too scared to do it. I was just so depressed. I didn't know how to do. I just didn't know how to live life. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I had dug myself such a deep hole. I wasn't able to get out of it. And I remember in that moment, I woke up and I just realized I didn't want that for me. I wanted it better. I wanted to do better. And the first person I thought of was my mom. My mom's always been there for me. She's the only person that's really always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. I never knew my real dad growing up. So my mom was all I really had, and she's my biggest hero. And, my uncle, he killed himself through addiction. And my mom had to deal with that, a few years prior. And I was just like, who the fuck am I to put her through this on top? I mean, I put her through hell, absolute hell. She's seen me at my worst. This isn't the first time she's seen me in the hospital. This isn't the first time she's found me in a bedroom, looking half dead or taking. It's just so many things I put my mom through. And she was the first person that came to mind. I'm like, I got to get this shit together, dude. I'm like 31 years old at this point in my. I have nothing, literally nothing. And so that's what I did. I went and checked myself. Well, it wasn't as easy as checking myself into detox. I went to drug and alcohol services, the same place that, had put me in jail multiple times throughout, the years prior to it. Did I shut this window? Can you hear that?
No.
Sorry, there's like a lawnmower. We can edit that out, hopefully. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's why we have
Okay.
that.
It was getting super loud. But anyway, so it wasn't as easy as just checking myself into detox. Like I went to drug and alcohol services, the same place that had, I used to go attend classes. I used to get drug tested there. They used to arrest me all the time, like the same building. I went back now that I'm not on probation asking for help, and they're literally having me fill out paperwork saying, well, are we sure you qualify? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Do you guys not know you know who I am? You used to chase me down my whole life. And so anyway, it took me like 2 months filling out paperwork, going through the loop, the jumping through the hoops of going through the process, because I didn't have any resources. It wasn't like I was going to pastures of Malibu, that's for sure. Like they ultimately found me a bed at a place called, forget the name of it, but anyway, it was at in a town called King City, California. If anyone's ever heard of that, probably not, because I think there's probably 30,000, but it felt like 300. It was such a small town. It's a little cow town. Like it smells like cow shit, a lot of field workers. And I found this little detox with like 10 beds, and it was free. And so I drove, they sent me there, and I drove myself there, and the drive took a lot longer than it should have. It was an hour and a half drive, and it took me a few days because I just kept stopping at every gas station, getting high one last time, and until I ended up getting there. And knocked on the door, no one answered, got back in my truck and almost drove off, but I didn't. Like I felt something inside me, like if you don't do this right now, you're never going to get sober, you're going to die. That's the voice that was inside of my head. So I went back and, I knocked on that door one more time, and I answered, and they showed me to this little tiny room and twin bed. And this is where I was going to sleep off the drugs. And that's what I did. I detoxed for a couple of weeks, and I got through it.
Wow. I mean, a journey and a journey and a journey. And to, now that you're here, but like you said, like the journey is what helps you help other people. That's kind of how we got into talking about your journey. And you said earlier, and I think it's so true, like your addiction was addiction to drugs and alcohol. And that's an addiction that everyone like sees as bad, I guess, that everyone, labels. And it's easy to be like, oh, that's an addict. That's an addiction. That's something that we have to get over. But there are so many other things that people are addicted to, like food, social media, even winning in arenas, even fitness can be. And I think that's something a lot of entrepreneurs and successful people share, that a lot of people are addicted to adrenaline. They're just addicted to, no matter what that looks like, how costly it is, and what they have to do it. And it just is a more socially acceptable addiction, but it still doesn't stick and still burns relationships, burns things in your life, unless you find an ultimate purpose like you did.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I like to say I became addicted to being the best version of me, because it can't just be the gym. I know that now. Like I said, my relationship with God is first and foremost. I will put nothing above that. And that goes hand in hand with my sobriety. I know if I say connected to him on a spiritual level, like sobriety is going to fall right into place, and I keep myself active in the gym because I feel like that is an act of gratitude towards God to take care of my body, the body that I almost had taken away from me multiple times.
Yeah.
This is, plenty of people say they're grateful for their life, but very few people show it. If you're going around stuffing donuts in your face and you're not working out and you're drinking alcohol, like you're not really grateful. You're just saying that. If you were truly grateful, you would take care of this one body, this vessel that God has blessed you with. And it took me a very long time to realize that. I was sticking needles in my arm. You know what I mean? And even when I got sober, I still I've never been like you won't ever see me fat. There's not fat Matt versions. They're either strung out on drugs or in good shape. But I would still like to eat. I found myself, if I ate good food or like good tasting food or sugary food, I couldn't stop. That addict in me came back, and I didn't like that. You know what I mean? So sometimes I realized it's not so much more what we have to add to our life, but some things that we might need to take away.
Yep.
And for me, to make us better, right? And so for me, I'm like, I need to take it to that next level. Now, like I said, I was always in good shape. I was working out. I was doing all kinds of things, but I knew that there was a better version of me. So I just started cleaning up the diet more and more. and dropping more habits that people, get real with you real quick. I knew I had to take out everything. And I made a promise to myself shortly after I got sober. I'm like, I'm never going to look at any pornographic material again in my life. And that's a big struggle with a lot of men. I talk to a lot of guys that open up to me about that stuff. And I said, never again, because look, this thing right here is one of the most powerful tools that you possess. And if you're looking at things like that, it's fucking with your head. They've actually done brain scans, and it does the same type of damage that drugs do. So that was another thing I gave up right off the bat, which is difficult, man. You look at social media today, and there's temptations like that to take it to the next level all the time. And cutting out, I was hitting the stupid vape pen for a while, and I knew I had to cut that out. And now I'm cutting out sugar and just really cleaning, like, again, taking away things from my life that I know don't serve me anymore. What I've found is that the more discipline I have in my life, the better my life gets. And the more value I bring to the world, the more I'm able to control myself. It makes me a better leader, a better coach. It makes me be able to speak with authority about things. If I'm this guy that's kind of half in, kind of half out, who am I to try to tell people how to better their lives? Like, I know that the best version of me gets to help everyone else become the best version of them.
Yes. Addicted to being, the best version of yourself. You went into so many powerful things of all the other things that you realize, like you have the addictive personality and all the other things that can be addictive. And that sometimes people can just look at like, oh, well, I don't have a problem with that, or I'm going to address these areas of my life. I'm doing really good, but I'm just going to ignore those. And you took a hard look at like, what's everything that I'm not treating my body and my mind like as a temple, and that I need to get rid of. And that's pretty awesome. One thing we learned, I want to talk more about Unstoppable here. And like your coaching experience in that, what you love about coaching people, and then talk a little bit about the program. One thing I learned in coming to work out with you when JC and I came in, and we're in the program, so we get great workouts. JC has you as a coach. I have Ashley as a coach, designing our workouts, thinking I'm pushing myself in the gym. And we had just come off of another program. When we came to you, we challenged ourselves in a different way in leadership. And it was amazing how, like, I think we both thought we were pushing ourselves in the gym. We were going all out. We don't miss a workout. We're each other's accountability partner. We are at the gym every morning at 5 a.m. But without working with a coach, and even like letting a coach hold you accountable, we're showing up and doing good for what most people thought, right? People look at us and think, oh, you guys are healthy. You guys are showing up. You guys are putting in the work. But I found out that I could have been pushing myself so much farther. And it's really about the best version of myself. Like, not what's good compared to somebody else, but what's good compared to me. Like, good is not good enough. That was kind of my theme of the two experiences I went. Like, good is not good enough. You have to push yourself to be the next best version of yourself. And in order to do that, you really need somebody to pull that best version out of you.
Yeah. No, I mean, we should always be raising the bar for ourselves, right? And so you guys are in phenomenal shape, and there's always that next level, and there's always that next level for me. And that's what I keep telling myself. And that's why when I go into the gym, I tell people this, with everything in me, I work out to fix this thing up here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The physique, that's a byproduct. That comes from putting in the work every single day, but fall in love with the process of who you become in the process of, showing up early to the gym, not missing workouts, pushing it to failure, pushing past those limiting beliefs, pushing past those plateaus, doing that next challenging thing. Like, the person you become in that process is unstoppable, for lack of a better way to put it. It's just, no, I mean, you really are, and I'm super stoked that we all got a chance to work out and, push it to that next level. And hopefully you guys take that with you. And that's the new standard when you go into the gym now, right?
It is definitely just to a different level. Just this morning? Yeah, just this morning. I was spotting JC on the bench, and he accidentally put the wrong weight on and had too much on. So he's like, come spot me. He's like, just 4 at this. And I was basically only supposed to be there to like take the weights off. That he could do 4, take 2 off, 4, take 2 more off. But he put too much on the first time. And so he went and lifted it. And I had to, like, for real, oh no. but definitely just like being there for each other and, helping a little
Yeah.
and pushing each other to go one more, like actually doing it, like you said, to failure. It not only has great physical, like I am sore now every time, like feel my body pushing, but like you said, the mind shift of it. And my mind shift had been cold plunge. No matter how many times I do the cold plunge, every single time I'm like,
It sucks every time.
but I always think doing it in the morning means mentally, like I can do hard things. Like if I sit there the whole time, I'm like, I can do hard things. I can do anything hard today if I make myself sit in this water. But let's talk a little bit about Unstoppable and the program. We are super passionate about it. Obviously, we're really passionate about health and making ourselves into the next best version of ourselves. And we're educated and could make program, figure out our workouts and our meal prep and stuff ourselves. But whatever area you want to grow in your life, I believe, to be the next best version of yourself, if you want to do that, you should always have a coach. And that's why we chose to work with you guys. And we want to be able to share it with others. When we're out there talking about how important health is to us, we don't want to just be like, oh, it's important for us and then keep it a secret what we do. Like
Yeah.
it's important for us, and you all should have a path and a way to get there too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that and I appreciate it. I mean, so yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about Unstoppable. So we do mindset, fitness, nutrition coaching. Like I said, mindset's so important because if you don't develop that new type of mindset, you're going to be one of those people that gets maybe some temporary results, but isn't able to stick to it long term. Like the goal isn't to get in shape, the goal is to stay in shape, and you do that by developing new habits, right? It's a new way of living. This is something I want people to take with them for the rest of their life. This isn't like, hey, let's get you shredded in 60 or 90 days and then send you on your way to go back to, eating donuts and drinking beer every weekend. Like, let's really do some deep dive work and focus on yourself. And so that's why we have guys and women, men and women, both sides of the program, doing daily habits outside of just fitness, right? It's about reading. We have them read pages from a book that are going to bring some value towards their life. I always preach meditation, which is a huge one for guys. Like, I'm not meditating, you know what I mean? This big old macho thing. I'm like, dude, you don't even know, man. You don't even know till you experience it. Like, really. So I try to encourage that as well. I'm a very spiritual person, and I like to tap into that side. And I think it's important to break down those barriers and lead by example for other guys. So prayer, meditation, journaling, which is another big one for men that aren't gonna, I'm not gonna write in a book. It's a diary, but no, not at all, man. There's power in all that stuff. And then obviously fitness, right? And tracking calories and the importance of why we put these certain foods into our body and what they're going to do for us, not just physically, but how we think. The food we put into our stomach has a direct correlation with how we think and how we operate and how we feel. That's a scientific fact. So I stress that to people. I teach them to eat whole foods, nutritious foods. I'm a big fan of keeping it simple. I'm like, look, find some things that you like to eat and just eat them every day. That's what, if you open up my fridge right now, you would see ground beef, chicken, and some rice and some sweet potatoes and like eggs and egg whites. I eat the same thing every single day. Maybe some Greek non-fat yogurt. Like I just keep it simple, and I try to, I'll like figure out what you like. I'll help you figure it out, and we're gonna eat that every single day, and we're gonna weigh our food out. We're gonna track calories, and we're gonna get results that way. And within the program, when people sign up, they have access to our app, and their daily workouts are structured based on their goals, their fitness level, and how many days a week they're willing to work out. They're given a coach. That coach is going to track their progress. So, like, I have my guys, I always tell them minimum, I want your progress photos once a month. Weekly is even better, but minimum once a month. It's all, I try to meet people where they're at in their fitness journey. Some people are like, I can't do that every week. It's too much. And some guys are on point. So wherever you're at with your journey, I'll meet you there. We do like Loom video check-ins, so like a video feedback on progress every couple weeks. Make sure they're checking the boxes, doing their daily habits. There's touch points in and out throughout the week within the app. We have, messaging in there, and then we provide 2 group coaching calls a week. So we get on there at a couple times on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and just give guys a chance to vent, ask questions, share wins, just surround themselves with other people in the community. Because like you said earlier, it's all about who you surround yourself with. You surround yourself with a bunch of people that are all striving towards the same goal. It's going to stay easier. It's a little bit easier to stay motivated and stay driven on that path.
Yeah.
And then we also take it to the next level, which is what you and JC are doing with the medical side of things, right? That's exciting. So we do a very extensive blood panel test, over 200 biomarkers, anything and everything health related, how well your liver is functioning, foods that your body might not agree with, vitamin deficiencies, insulin resistance or sensitivity, just a whole report card on your health. And it's pretty cool. We've had a couple guys that, we catch, they're at risk for a heart attack or at risk for a stroke, and we catch it, 5 years in advance, and we're able to combat those things earlier before it becomes an issue. It's like, this is what your future is telling us based on these blood markers here, biomarkers here. So we need to change this thing. And when you can really, I mean, that's life changing right there for someone that was literally on the path to an early grave. Being able to change that is just, it feels good to be able to leave that impact. And then obviously diet and exercise being the bread and butter of the whole everything. Without that, that's always got to be your foundation. But then we're able to do things like TRT or hormone replacement therapy. We come out with couple of custom supplement packs based based on your blood. Excuse me. And so, like, I have a morning pack of vitamins and a PM pack of vitamins, just like you guys do, that are based on my vitamin deficiencies. And then, other peptides are available. Like I'm doing NAD and tesamorelin. There's tons of other peptides out there available. So basically, whenever you do your blood work, you do like a consultation with one of the staff, either Dr. J or Madeline does it. And, they give you a rundown of what's going on. And then you come up with your custom plan based on that. And then we do follow up blood work 6 months down the road to make sure we're still on the right path, making the adjustments we may need. But it's about optimizing your health on the cellular level.
And all designed for you. I mean, everything optimizing it for you, from nutrition, fitness. I mean, this blood work is next level. But I think so many people, when they do so many things in life, that they're following somebody else's blueprint, whether it be in business or what they think success is, of what I need to do, how I need to get healthy. They're following somebody else's blueprint. And we're all different. We all have different preferences, ages, needs, biology of things. And so to be able to work with a program like yours and have a coach and have your nutrition plan designed with something that works for you, that works for your lifestyle, your needs, where you're at, just like you said, meeting people where they're at, that you're not, seeing something on Instagram and being like, oh, I'm going to follow this cool fitness hack trick, and that's going to get me results. And I'm going to follow this crazy diet plan and just start ordering every supplement that you see that works for somebody else. That's what most people are out there doing, just like throwing it all together. And then there's no accountability, no motivation, no tribe. And so all these things that they're like throwing against the wall to see if they stick, they don't even know how anything's working together, if anything's sticking. I mean, it's better than nothing, but I love it because it's such a holistic program of, like you said, mind, body, food, fitness, doing your blood work. You can get involved at any level. But then there's the community of people too, to really this is a lifestyle. It's not just let's get summer beach fit and get that beach body and then ignore it in the winter and try and come back and do it all again. It's how can we continually be the best versions of ourselves and make this a life?
100%. Nailed it.
Well, Matt, I knew this was going to go quick. I could talk and dive into things for hours. So I know we will again. We talked at the beginning of the episode of, I already can't wait to come back to Santa Barbara and not only see more of the city, but for us to get to work out with you in person again too.
Absolutely, man. Just let me know when. I'm excited to have you guys. You guys are so much fun to hang out with.
Oh, thanks. We'll right back at you. Well, thank you so much for all the value that you brought to the show today, authenticity and so many nuggets. It was great having you as a guest.
Well, I really appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, audience, for tuning in to another episode of Unique Genius Podcast. See you next week.